Welcome to the Team Fit Gains Fat Loss Masterclass. In today's video, I'll be talking you through exactly how to drop stubborn belly fat and how to keep it off for good. I'm going to explain to you what you need to do with your diet, your training, what to track, how to make adjustments, and what you need to do once you've dropped the weight in order to keep it off forever. I'll also explain to you how fat cells work so you've got a better understanding of what you need to do to get rid of the TIDH, keep that belly fat off for good. My name's Arjun Rai and I'm from Team Fit Gains. I've helped thousands of Indians get rid of their TIDH, drop that stubborn belly fat without sacrificing their favorite foods. Yes, that means you can eat roti, you can still eat your nanni's aloo wale paronte. You can find out more information and check out all the transformations below. The link is in the description. Diets have a 95% failure rate, meaning 10 people that diet, at least 9 of them are going to end up failing and regaining all of the weight they've lost. This usually happens within 6 months to a couple of years, but whatever diet someone does, even though it worked temporarily, they're just not able to keep the weight off long term. So the first thing we want to do is understand body fat. Why is it we even store fat? What does it do? Why do we have it? And what is the process of actually losing fat? So the first thing is our bodies are very cleverly designed. We overeat calories, which is energy, right? Calories equals energy. When we have too many calories, our body will say, right, let me save some of this energy for a rainy day. So it stores the excess energy into body fat. Two main types of body fat. There's your subcutaneous fat. This is the fat you store underneath the skin. And then you have your visceral fat, which is the fat around the internal organs. The visceral fat is more dangerous. This is where the fat goes around the liver, the pancreas, and can start causing things like type 2 diabetes. You can start developing fat in your arteries, which could lead to blood pressure and eventually give you a stroke or a heart attack. Then the subcutaneous fat is the fat you store underneath the skin. This is usually the fat we look at and think, oh, I really want to get rid of this. You can visibly kind of see it on your body. And this is actually a safer storage of fat. Someone can store a lot of fat underneath their skin and they could still actually be metabolically healthy. So it doesn't always mean if someone's overweight that they've got loads of health problems. The subcutaneous fat is almost unlimited in terms of its storage capacity. So this is why you get some people who can get really, really big. And you also think, like, how do they get that big? It's because they've kept overeating, eating, and their body was just storing fat. Now, back in the days when we were cavemen, we would have to hunt for our food, catch our food, and there'll be days where you go hungry because you couldn't catch any food. So when those days occur, what your body would do, use the fat that it stored as the excess energy to keep you going, to keep you alive. In the modern day, we do not need to do such things as like hunt our food and catch our food anymore. We have an abundance of food around us. We can open up the fridge, there's food in there, we can Uber Eats, press a few buttons, I've got a hot meal to my door. And what's happening now is keep storing that fat and we never ever tap into it. And that's why it keeps on growing and growing. You can look at it like money. If you spend more money than you earn, you can go into debt and you can keep going into debt. And that debt can grow. Just like our body fat stores, if we keep eating more calories than we are burning, fat stores will get larger and larger. The way fat cells work is when we gain weight, your fat cells will start to expand, right? And then when you lose weight, your fat cells will shrink. Now, if you're someone that continues to gain weight, once your fat cells hits capacity, a new fat cell will pop up and then that will expand. And then another fat cell could pop up if you keep on gaining weight. Now, we have billions of fat cells in our body, but whenever you lose weight and then you stop the diet and you go back to normal and you suddenly gain weight, the weight rebound, this is where a lot of fat cells can get added into the equation. And if you keep on doing this kind of yo-yo diet, losing weight, gaining weight, over time, you keep adding more fat cells to the equation. Now, the bad news is once a fat cell is developed, it can never disappear. So fat cells can expand, they can shrink, new ones can develop, but we can never get rid of them. So essentially, you're adding more fat cells to the equation, and every time you diet, there's more fat cells to diet down, and it gets harder and harder to drop the body fat. And the only way you can get rid of these fat cells is if you actually have liposuction and you physically remove the fat cells from the body. Even though we have so many fat cells, we can get lean. So even if you're someone that thinks, oh no, I must have been adding so many more fat cells to my body, you can still do this with the strategies I'm going to explain. There are three main phases when it comes to dropping body fat forever. The first phase is the fat loss phase. The second phase is the reverse diet phase. And the third phase, I call it the freedom phase. In phase one, which is fat loss, the key thing you need to do is be in a calorie deficit. I don't care what diet you're following. I don't care if you're vegetarian, vegan, you eat meat, you're pescatarian, you do intermittent fasting, keto. Whatever diet strategy you use, you need to make sure you're in a calorie deficit. So you have to eat less calories than you burn in a day. Do that consistently and you will drop weight. What you need to work out initially is how many calories do you actually burn in a day. Now you can use different formulas and calculations. We've got a calculator in the link below, so you can just fill that out and that will tell you your calorie requirements based on your current body stats. And also it does tell you your body fat percentage, and it also gives you a timeline on how long it should take for you to drop the body fat. Once you know how many calories you need to be eating, you then want to set up your protein target. The reason why protein is very important is when you lose weight, you want to lose the right type of weight. You can lose fat, you can also lose muscle. We want to keep muscle on your body, and if anything, we want to add more muscle to your body. This can actually help you burn more calories in the long run. The amount of protein you need in a day is your lean body mass multiplied by 2.2. So to work out your lean body mass, you'll need to know your body fat percentage. Again, in that calculator, it will tell you that. And then the other macronutrients are your fats and your carbohydrates. Dietary fat, you want to keep between 20 and 30%, and whatever is left over, you allocate to carbohydrates. So now you've got your calorie set, your protein set, carbs and fats. In all honesty, you don't really need to worry too much about your carbs and your fats. They can be down to your personal preference. As long as you make sure you're eating the right amount of calories and the right amount of protein, you will get really good results. You also want to keep an eye on your fiber intake. You want to aim for around 30 grams of fiber a day. So if you're getting the right amount of calories, protein and fiber, this is going to make sure you're having a diet where you lose body fat, keep muscle, and is also healthy. Aim to drink 2 liters of water a day. You want to make sure you're hydrated and your body doesn't confuse being hungry with thirsty. And then when it comes to training, you want to be strength training. Don't focus all your efforts on doing cardio and lots of running and lots of HIIT workouts. Although you can burn more calories doing these type of workouts, what we want your training to do, we want it to preserve your muscle and also potentially build muscle. For that to happen, we need to make sure we're adequately training the muscle. So doing strength training, where you are breaking down the muscle fibers, causing these little micro tears, and then when you rest and recover, they rebuild bigger and stronger. Over time, if you're able to build a bit more muscle, your metabolic rate can actually go up slightly. Muscle actually burns more calories than body fat. So this is why two people can weigh the same, but if they have a different body fat percentage and one has more muscle, that person is able to eat more food and get away with it and not put on as much body fat. So muscle is really the key here. When you train, always think about muscle mass. You can use cardio to help you burn some extra calories, but this is also a bit of a losing strategy, because if you think, right, I've had a chocolate, 200 calories, now I need to go burn 200 calories, you're going to need to run consistently for at least half an hour, which can be quite a lot of hard work. So instead, just focus on your diet for fat loss, right? Eating the right amount of calories, make sure you're in a deficit through your diet. And then when it comes to your training, don't focus about how many calories you burn, focus on protecting and building your muscle mass. If you're able to train at least 3 times a week, hitting the different muscle groups, focusing on your compound lifts. So here are 6 lifts I would definitely recommend you do. You should squat or different variations of squats, barbell squat, goblet squat, hack squats. Make sure you're hitting your lower body adequately. Some sort of hip hinge movement like a deadlift or an RDL. You want to be hitting your chest, so doing things like bench press, chest press, dumbbell press, shoulders with shoulder press. And then you want to do some vertical pulling and horizontal pulling like lat pull downs and seated rows. If you got these exercises in your plan across the week, it's going to be a pretty good plan. And then you can add in other accessory exercises around that to target other muscles. When you are training, you need to be training with the right intensity. This is very important. If you're going into the gym and you're not really getting the right intensity, you're not going to break down those muscle fibers adequately. Remember, we want to cause these little micro tears so that they can repair and rebuild bigger and stronger. For this to happen, you need to be training close to failure. So if I've got on the bench 80 kgs, the maximum reps I can do with 80 kilos is say 15 reps, 1-5. I want to make sure when I'm training with 80 kilos, I'm getting close to my max. So I don't need to go all the way to 15, but I can get close to it, like 13 reps, right? It's too shy of failure. That's the type of intensity you need to be training with. You should be making ugly faces towards the end of your set. If it's too easy, go a bit heavier. You need to get this right. And I'm talking to men and the women, right? A lot of women get into the gym, they do these little pink weights, they don't really push themselves hard enough, and they won't be able to build that muscle and get that shape developed underneath. A big mistake people make when they are training is they try to target the areas they're trying to lose fat in. So for example, if you've got a belly and then you're trying to do loads of sit-ups, that's not really gonna work because you have to understand that the fat is separate to the muscle. Your bone, muscle, fat, and then your skin. By doing loads of sit-ups, you are targeting the muscle, the ab muscles, right? So they can get strong and developed, but the body fat on top does not go anywhere. If you do 1,000 sit-ups a day, you're not touching that fat, you're focusing on the muscle. The fat is separate. The only way the fat goes down is through a calorie deficit, which will be achieved through your diet. So there's no need to go crazy and focus on different exercises to target fat in different areas. We cannot target where you lose body fat. So make sure you're training the full body across the week, resistance train, strength train, and with the right intensity. If you were training 3 days a week, you could do something like lower body, upper body, full body, or you could do legs, push and pull. You probably want to do about 5 to 6 different exercises for each area of the body. And then you want your reps to be about 6 reps at the heaviest, up to about 15 reps. You can go a bit heavier and lighter, depends how you want to do it, but making sure the intensity is there and you're training close to failure. In the fat loss phase so far, we've discussed your diet, calories, macros, how to train, and then you want to make sure you're tracking your progress. Take weekly measurements, monthly progress photos, weigh yourself every day. The reason why you want to weigh daily is you want to take your average weight from week to week, compare the averages. So if my average weight for this week is 85 kilos, next week my average weight across the 7 days is 84.2. I know I've dropped 0.8 kilos on an average. If I only take my weight once a week, it won't be that accurate and it won't give you the data you really need. Now, if you're not dropping any weight and your measurements aren't going down and there's no change in your physical appearance, then you may need to drop the calories down to make sure you're in a deficit. But before you drop those calories, you need to make sure you are actually eating the calories you set in the first place. What happens a lot of the time, not tracking as accurately, they miss things out, they forget to add things in. So make sure step number 1 is, are you tracking accurately? If you're doing everything properly and you're not making any progress, that's where you can make the adjustment in your calorie intake. You want to make sure you're getting enough sleep. Sleep's very important. You want to aim for at least 7 hours of proper sleep per night. This will mean you'll need to be in bed for 8 hours. You're not going to be asleep the whole time you're in bed. There'll be times where you're awake. There's different sleep cycles like your deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep. And what you want to make sure is you're in bed for 8 hours, so you'll get around 7 hours of proper sleep. This will make sure you're recovered properly, your energy levels are good. Getting enough sleep will just make the process way easier for you. So this will mean working on your routine for sure. Go bed at the same time every day, wake up at the same time every day, eat your meals at the same time every day. These things will help you stay on this fat loss journey. Something we do with our clients is we include the foods they like onto their plan. So if somebody likes to eat roti, or they like chocolates, or they have a takeaway once a week, or even if they have a couple of drinks in the week, I will include that on their plan within their calories though, and they can still do these things and still get really good results. The reason why we do this is because I'd rather the person have a chocolate if it means they will stick to their calorie allowance. If I said to the person, you're not allowed any chocolates, you're not allowed any crisps, you're not allowed any sweets, not allowed any alcohol, no takeaway, yes, they can do it for a little while, but then they'll end up binging. And then these binges will ruin all of their progress. So if they can actually have the options on their plan, and they can choose whether they want to have a chocolate or not, as long as they stay within their calories and are hitting their protein, they're going to get really good results regardless. Okay, so let's say you've hit your goal, you've done the fat loss phase, you've been in it for 6 months to a year, you get down, you've dropped 20 kilos. Now what do? Phase 2, the reverse diet. It's very, very important that you do the reverse diet properly. you need to recalculate your maintenance calories. Because you've dropped so much weight, your maintenance calories will drop down a bit. Recalculate your maintenance calories. Again, use the calculator below. And then you want to slowly increase your calories back up to your maintenance. So for example, if my maintenance calories are 2,500 a day, but I've been dieting on 1,800 calories a day, that is a difference of 700 calories. Now, the way we do it at Team Fit Gains is we increase your calories by 50 to 100 calories every week until we hit your new maintenance. So in this example, I need to go up by 700 calories. That could take me 7 up to 14 weeks to do my reverse diet. With the guys, we usually do 100 calorie jumps, and with the girls, we usually do 50 calorie jumps. So you're looking around 2 months in that reverse diet phase. So now what's happened is you've got lean and you're eating more calories and you're staying lean. Imagine eating an extra 700 calories to what you were dieting on. You can be way more flexible with your diet. You can incorporate more foods you enjoy. You can have bigger meal portions, and you'll have more energy and strength in the gym. So this is phase 2. Very important you do the reverse diet after a fat loss phase. Now phase 3, we call it the freedom phase. This is where I would like you to stop tracking every little thing. In the fat loss phase, we needed you to track your calories, your protein, your weight, your steps, your sleep, water intake, fiber intake, all of these things, right? We're looking at everything. Now we've done that phase, we've also done the reverse diet, maintain that reverse diet for a couple of months, and then you can start walking away from tracking every calorie. By now, this becomes normal life. You're eating the same amount of calories, your body is staying in good shape. You should know what you need in terms of breakfast, lunch, and dinner most of the time. And then if you do need to go out to eat, or you're having a meal off plan, you can do things like calorie cycle or eat some lower calorie days to give you a higher calorie day. These strategies are really good to keep you on track for the long term. The idea is you're not going to be tracking your calories forever. You're not going to be an old man putting everything into the food tracking app. You're going to get to a position where things become automatic. Like for me, I have pretty much the same breakfast every day, a protein smoothie. I know it's around 700 calories and it provides me with 60 grams of protein. That's just standard. My lunches are pretty standard. My dinners do vary, but they're always high in protein. And me, by just kind of monitoring myself in terms of weight, I don't weigh myself every day now, but I do keep a regular check on my weight. Obviously, the way I'm looking, I can tell if I'm gaining a bit too much and if I need to cut back. And I can do this more intuitively once I've done the fat loss phase and the reverse diet phase. And that's where you want to end up. You want to get to a position where you're eating a good amount of calories, training's consistent, and you don't need to watch every calorie. By completing these 3 phases, the fat loss phase, reverse diet, and the freedom phase, you'll be in a really good position where you've lost the fat, you're keeping it off, and you're enjoying your life without too much sacrifice. If you're someone that seems to be struggling with their fitness, their diet, and their training, you can download my free fat loss guide. I'll put the link below. The calorie calculator in there that will calculate how many calories you need, how much protein you need. It'll also tell you your body fat percentage, and it will set you some targets and some goals along the way. It gives you a really good understanding of diet and nutrition and can help you with some example meal plans and templates with the training plans as well. Click the link below and download it.